Thank you for joining us today. We're the local education and outreach team from Oak Spring Garden Foundation. My name is Ginger Anderson. I'm the teaching specialist. With me today, I have my 3 teaching assistants and 2 year-long apprentices. Let me introduce you to the team.
Hi, my name is Jimena.
Hi, I'm Mika.
I'm Trisha.
I'm Haley.
Hi, I'm Erica.
Let me tell you a little bit more about what we do with the local education and outreach program at Oak Spring Garden Foundation. The LEO team is fortunate to get to go out into the community and share all things plants. We also bring kindergarten through 12th graders to Oak Spring Garden Foundation for programming where they can get in the field, learning sustainable agriculture, be on the landscape, learning about ecology and all the flora and fauna that we have here on the property. Today, what we wanted to do was share with you an example of an activity that we might do with youth in the community. We have created a beautiful lesson, Foraged Flora, a seasonal arrangement that you can join with family or friends to create. We're going to begin today with Mika Bishton, who's going to share with you how to create these beautiful salt dough ornaments.
Hi, I'm Mika. I'm a teaching assistant here, and we're going to go over how to make salt dough ornaments. This is what the finished product will look like. And we're gonna go through the materials that you'll need for this project. You will need a mixing bowl, 1 cup of salt, 2 cups of flour, and 1 cup of water. You'll need a flat, clean surface to knead your dough on, a baking tray and wax paper, a spatula, paint, and a paintbrush, and also a rolling pin. And we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna take my mixing bowl and add my 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of salt. I'm gonna give this a good little mix to make sure everything's incorporated before we add the water. All right. I'm gonna slowly pour in our water and keep mixing. And we're gonna keep on mixing until we get a loose dough. This project can be for all ages. I remember doing this as a little kid with my dad. He still has all of my salt dough ornaments that he pulls out each year for Christmas. And you'll see it starts to kind of come together in a crumbly, shaggy dough. And right in my bowl, I'm just gonna roll up my sleeves and start kneading this together. And you're gonna keep kneading this for 5 to 10 minutes or until your dough is smooth. If it's quite crumbly like mine is, you can add a little bit of water, or if it's the opposite, if it's too sticky, you wanna add more flour. All right, I'm gonna move everything over to my cutting board, and I'm gonna keep working this in. This was my favorite part as a child, getting my hands dirty. And once you have this kneaded to your liking, you have to let it sit for just about 10 minutes or until when you press it, it doesn't spring back. So my dough here has been resting for 10 minutes and it is ready to be rolled out and made into our ornaments. So I'm gonna sprinkle some flour onto my work surface and also onto my rolling pin. To make rolling it out easier, I'm gonna split my dough in half. I'm gonna flatten it out with my hand and we're gonna roll it out. Approximately 1/8 of an inch. You don't want it too thin or else it'll crack or fall apart, but if it is too thick, it will not bake properly in your oven. All right, once you have a nice thin layer, it's time to bring in our plant material, and you'll also need a mason jar to start cutting out our pieces. So I have my mason jar. You can use a cookie cutter, but I like the shape that a mason jar has, a nice simple circle. I'm not gonna press all the way through the dough. I'm just gonna lightly press and lay out where my ornaments will be. Then I'm gonna take some plant material that was foraged on our property, and I'm gonna lay them down and gently press into the dough, rubbing the plant material in, and this is gonna leave a really lovely imprint. Okay, once you have your plant material pressed down into the dough, we get to reveal and have some oohs and ahs. Oohs and ahs. Awesome. Now we're gonna grab our mason jar once again and press into our dough, kind of like we're making biscuits. I'm gonna pull back this extra dough, set it aside so we can roll out some more, and I'm gonna take my ornaments and put them on my baking sheet with wax paper. I'm gonna use the end of a paintbrush to poke a hole through my ornament so we have a way of hanging it up. You can use a pencil, you can use a straw, just making a hole, keeping in mind that it'll shrink a little bit when you put it in the oven. All right. And then in a preheated oven at 250 degrees Fahrenheit, we're gonna leave these in there for about an hour to an hour and a half, checking it periodically, just make sure nothing bad happens. And you'll know they're done when they're firm to the touch and they don't have any give to them. All right, our salt dough ornaments are now out of the oven. They have cooled off. And now we have our base for our painting. So pick any acrylic paint you have around. I chose red. You can do silver, gold, designer's choice. But I'm simply just gonna put a pea-sized amount of paint just right on my ornament, like that. And then taking your brush, you're gonna wanna smooth and really stiffle in the impression that your plants left behind. All right. And then taking a paper towel or a sponge, we're gonna get some water. And we're gonna wipe back to reveal an inlay of our paint. You may need to use a couple of towels. If you wiped away any detail that you wanted to keep, you can always go back in, fix it up a bit. All right, and there we have our beautiful inlay. To tie in the look and make it more cohesive, I like to paint the border of my ornament to make it look a little bit more polished. This is, again, a design preference. And if you got any more paint on the front, you can just go back in, clean it up some, and leave it to dry. And there you have beautiful salt dough ornaments. Next, Erica and Trisha are gonna go through making our Foraged Flora seasonal arrangement.
Hi everyone, I'm Trisha.
I'm Erica.
And we are moving on into our foraged arrangement portion. Miss Erica is going to lead us off on our first elements and some of the materials that we're going to be using, but this is a great time. If you have more than one person, gather them all around. We're going to have a lot of different stages here, and we're going to need a lot of hands helping with this project. So without that, Erica, you have the floor.
Yay! Okay, so I am going to teach you guys how to make bundles. This works for our arrangement today. It works for wreaths. It works for a lot of different things, so it's a good skill to know and have in your pocket. So we've got different materials like clippers. You can use scissors, a florist knife that's a little more advanced, some Flora shears, and then we have different bundling materials like zip ties, hair ties, rubber bands, some tape, some wire, just things you can find around your house, lots of different options to work with. And then we have all of our botanicals that we foraged from our farm and property. All of this was near our backyard, so it's not like you have to go out to some fancy property and get all this uniquely varieties, so you can just use about anything. If you only have one variety, that works too. It'll just look like one little piece on your arrangement. So what we're first gonna do is we're gonna just pick some of our botanicals, sort them out into nice little piles, and then what you'll do is you'll strip the extra leaves, laterals, or whatever is at this bottom, so you have a nice little stick at the bottom to work with, and that is what you're going to use, what I call your pincher fingers, and that is going to be holding your botanicals in your hand. And you want to grab about 4 to 6 different varieties. If you are just working with the one, use 4 to 6 different laterals or sticks, and you just kind of work by adding to it. Grab a little thing, just keep grabbing whatever looks good to you, and just add it into your pincher fingers. This is where it's good to have some nice space, and if you have a little bit of dexterity issues, this is where it's great to have some extra helping hands. And you just add it together to keep going till you get a nice little arrangement, different textures, different sizes, and then you can use whatever banding material you are using. Get that banded together, and you have a little bundle. You can also do this continuously. It is a lot harder, and that way you would just make your bundles, hold it onto the stick, and then continue down. But this way is definitely more family friendly. You can design your bundles and then work on your stick. So we'll make another one, and then Ms. Trisha can get started.
All right, we got our bundles. We have our bundling team constantly doing our rotations. If we also want a family member with our string, we're gonna need a few strands here. So if we have a group on scissors and string, you kind of want your string to be maybe about a ruler length, and we're probably gonna need 10 to 12 pieces. So we're gonna go ahead and do a few of those.
It's an all hands on deck for this part of the project.
Yes. And just like Ms. Erica said before, we might have a lot of different skill levels when we're all working, so it's really great for this project to really work together to create a really beautiful project at the end. So with our first bundle, you're going to go ahead and have your stick, and we're going to start it at the end here. Our bundle, we kind of want it hanging off a little bit from your stick, so we don't want the end piece right there. We want it to be a little tapered off. Once you have that, this is a great time to call in a family member or partner. We're going to go ahead and wrap our string around that bundle and that stick. Our partner is going to hold it firm with a finger. We're going to go ahead and pull the string as tight as possible, and we're going to make a few knots around. Once we have that initial knot, it should be pretty on there, pretty good and sturdy, so we can move on to making it a little bit more tighter. When you're tying the bundles on, you really want to make sure that string and the stick is really firmly on. We don't want our bundle to be moving around too much. Once you have your first bundle on, you're going to go ahead and grab your second bundle, and we're going to create a pattern of overlaying each bundle on top of our existing bundles. So when we put our bundle on top of the previous one, we don't want it directly on top. Not only does this create like too much of a bulky look, it's just going to also create too much of a weight on your little stick. So when you put your second bundle on, you want it a little off-centered, and the main thing we're really trying to do is to cover up the string and the material that you're tying your stick and your bundle to. So go ahead and put our second bundle on. Partner, can you hold it in place for me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
It might get a little crowded, but
It might get
it's a great team bonding or family building event.
We're gonna keep going with this process all the way pretty much down to about 1 inch off of your stick. So we actually have one already kind of completed. So just like you're gonna have all your bundles and you're just gonna go ahead and complete that pattern, you're gonna get to about 1 inch here. And Miss Erica, if you wanna go over the closing.
Yes, so to close it, you're gonna kind of do the opposite of what we've been working on the entire stick. So you'll take whatever your last bundle is and you'll put it on the opposite way, just so that covers up the mechanics and covers up that end. Because otherwise you would just have a bunch of sticks and that doesn't look as good. So what we are going to do is put that bundle on. We've got our string team working hard, and we're gonna tie this on nice and tight. You can kind of tuck it in there into that back one, just so it's like all in there, you don't see anything. This is a difficult part, so don't get too frustrated with it. Just so there's probably about 1 inch left and you see the rubber bands, but don't worry, we are gonna get that all covered up. So now we're gonna take some of our extra pieces. These could be laterals that you took off the side when you were making bundles, extra little pieces you have left over. Maybe if you wanna add your salt dough ornament or some of the extra accessories, that would be a good spot for them. But you're just gonna take these, make them so they have a nice little stem, and then what we're just gonna do is weave it in there. It may be a little loose, but all we're trying to do is just get that mechanics covered up. You don't wanna see that very well. If you wanna tie stuff in, you are more than welcome to, but weaving seems to work. This is how a lot of wreaths are made, and it's a great process to just use up what you have.
I really love the smell of all the different arrangements and the winter evergreens. Really brings back good memories.
Definitely. Do you like having a real tree or a fake tree?
I like a real tree.
I can agree. And just like that, you covered up that hole. It may look a little less full, but again, you can always stick some extra things in there. If you had an extra bundle, you could try and weave that in, and then just put your decorations there.
Now that we have completed our floral arrangement on our stick, we're going to start adding some of our decorations to this beautiful arrangement. Jimena is going to lead us in that process, and we're so excited. I hope you keep enjoying. Bye.
Hi guys! So today we're gonna make some recycled fabric ribbons. We're basically just gonna cut up an old t-shirt or any old piece of fabric that you have lying around, and we're gonna cut it into strips to add some decoration to our seasonal arrangement. So first thing you wanna do is get a t-shirt or maybe an old bed sheet, any old piece of fabric that you do not want anymore. Today we're gonna use, this is our lovely plant camp t-shirt from this year that we are going to repurpose. So first thing you want to do is lay your t-shirt out. Make sure you have all your materials. You're also going to need fabric scissors or any sharp scissors that you have at home. We have a fabric writing utensil or ballpoint pen, and also a ruler. These are the things that you're going to need. Optional is also a hot glue gun, but that is optional. So to start off, you're gonna lay your t-shirt out flat, facing you, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut both sleeves off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then you will have a beautiful muscle t-shirt. Incredible, okay. Next, you are going to cut the sides of the shirt. So you're gonna cut from the bottom hem up to the bottom of the sleeve, and then you're gonna do the same thing to the other side. All right, next, you're gonna take your t-shirt and you're going to lay it out flat, extended. What you're gonna wanna do is get your ruler and you're gonna measure from the bottom of the t-shirt, you're gonna mark 2 inches. So you're gonna make a mark at the 2-inch line, make a mark at the 4-inch line, 6-8-inch line, 8, 10, 12. And then I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna draw straight across. If you're not cutting up a t-shirt and you're cutting up like a bed sheet or another square piece of fabric, just measure out rectangles, measuring 24 inches across and 2 inches width. I have my lines across from the bottom up, and I'm just gonna keep doing this for the rest of the t-shirt. I'm going to avoid the head area, and then I'm gonna make lines down the back. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start cutting my strips. There you have it, so you should have like a long strip. Alrighty, once you are done, you should have several ribbons, several strips that you're gonna turn into beautiful bows, your leftover sleeves, and the leftover head collar. Now to tie a bow, if you guys do not know, an easy way to do it is create one little ear, one little loop, another little loop, and I always got told the bunny ran around the tree and then into the rabbit hole. Basically, one goes under the other one and then pull. Try your best. But it's nice to have a couple pre-made bows already, because then later you can use hot glue and attach the little ribbons to your arrangement. And to help you attach ribbons to your arrangement will be Haley in the next section.
Hello, it's Haley. So now that you've finished your arrangement and your accessories, we're gonna go ahead and put it all together. But first we wanna think about where are we gonna put this arrangement. We can either use it as a mantle, maybe over your fireplace. You can use it as a centerpiece for your Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. Or you can just put it in a corner. But we're gonna go ahead and think about where we're gonna put it, because that is going to decide where we put our accessories. So for accessories, we have the bows that we just made with Jimena. We have the ornaments that we made with Mika at the beginning. And then, of course, pine cones, classic. So there's 2 different ways that you can string these on. You can use easy string, or we have some bark wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with a pine cone. So you can just forage for one of these, and then I'm going to take my wire cutters, get about a ruler length of your wire. Take your pine cone, and you're just gonna string it through the pine cone. And then twist to get it to hold on. And then we're gonna be using ours for a mantle, so I kind of want mine staggered a bit just to give it a good look. So I'm gonna put my pine cone probably about that length down, and then all you can do is wrap it around your arrangement, and then I'm just going to weave it through and twist just to get it nice and tight. So there is my pine cone. Next, you're gonna do your ornament. We're gonna go ahead and use bark wire just because it's a little more sturdy. And just like the hole that you made with your paintbrush earlier, you're going to weave your wire through, or your string, whatever you're using. And I think this would look really good in the middle. So I'm gonna come to the middle of my arrangement, put one piece underneath, one piece over top. And you can try to hide your wire underneath some of your arrangement, some of your flora, and then I'm just going to twist that on, tuck the wire, can't see it. Now for your bow, once again, cutting myself a piece of bark wire. And there's two options with this actually. You can hot glue these on if it's easier for you, but I'm just gonna show you with the wire. So taking your bow, on this back part, I'm gonna slide the wire through like so. And I think I'm gonna add this on this far side. So same thing you did with the ornament, one piece over, one piece under, twisting the wire, and then hiding it. And you can put as many accessories as you would like on. It is completely up to you, but in the end, I hope to have staggered pieces of my accessories all over my arrangement.
We hope you've enjoyed Foraged Flora, a seasonal arrangement. We've enjoyed working with you today. Since 2022, Leo's been providing free programming for youth in the community. This year alone, we've reached over 4,000 individuals with our programming. Our team has grown from a one-person program to a 6-member team. Our hope is that we can continue providing programming into the future. We hope that you would consider Giving Tuesday and giving back to the Educational and Outreach Program at Oak Spring Garden Foundation. Thank you.